A genre convention refers to specific elements, characteristics, and techniques that are commonly accepted and expected within a particular type of artistic work. These conventions are the criteria that audiences use to identify a work belonging to a particular genre. Horror is rife with them. Music, color, character archetypes, sound effects, locations, and more. If a protagonist enters an old abandoned house and the music starts to swell, the genre convention signals that something is about to happen, which heightens the tension and puts the audience on the edge of their seats. There are also numerous camera angles used in horror to instill fear, like the voyeuristic POV shot that lets the audience know that the victim is close to the killer, or perhaps the killer is close to the victim. But one of the more subtle techniques, which can be easily replicated at home, is the POV push-in. It's a staple in the horror genre. It involves cutting between a character and their point of view, which is usually focused on approaching danger. This technique is effective because we slowly track forwards both the looming threat and the character, and by doing this, two things happen thematically. Moving the camera forward mimics the sensation of a character, or the viewer, moving closer to the threat. We know whatever lurks in the shadow is likely dangerous. In the second shot, as we move towards the character, the composition starts to isolate them, suggesting that they are trapped. This brings us into the character's personal space and making the danger feel more immediate. For no-budget filmmakers, this is a simple technique to employ without splurging on locations and costumes. Here's how. So let's have a look at this example. We're going to have a character in broad daylight walking through the forest when she hears a sound from an abandoned ruin. Without the slider, it looks something like this. It's fine, it's okay, but we can increase the tension with a slider. So you are going to need something like this. This is a slider, or you can use a dolly if you have one available. I wouldn't necessarily recommend in using a gimbal because I think the sway that is associated with the gimbal might be off-putting for the employment of this technique. However, what you can also do is zoom in either with the lens or digitally, and we'll have a look at that a little later. But let's have a look at the difference when using a slider. So as you can see, there is a lot more tension into the scene. And this is because, as earlier noted, we're moving towards the threat, and then we're isolating the character in the frame and bringing the threat closer to her. So there is usually an edit sequence accompanied with this technique. So let's go home and have a look at that. Your edit sequence should start with your character reacting to something off screen. We will call this shot A, and this should be in a static position. Then capture their POV, shot B, from a static frame that transitions into a slow track forward. When cutting back to shot A, it should already be in motion towards the character. And you must ensure that this shot is already moving to maintain fluidity from shot B. Switching back to shot B should bring the viewer closer to the implied danger. It's up to you how often to cut between these two shots, but remember, less can be more. It's crucial to ensure that there is a payoff at the end of this sequence, since the audience expects a culmination. Regarding zooms, the horror film It Follows frequently utilizes them. It's a time-tested technique that's distinct from a track forward, but can create better tension than a mere static shot. In your preferred NLE, simply determine the final frame position, zoom in and adjust the position as necessary. Then set a keyframe to the position and zoom. Go back to the start of the clip and reset the values to 0. The finished product should look like this. Compared to an actual dolly shot, there's a distinct visual difference between the two techniques. While the dolly shot physically moves closer to the subject, zoom in magnifies the image. Alright guys, I've been Lewis. For now you know about this technique that you can put forward into your horror shorts. And again, if you don't have a dolly,
there is the digital zoom option available with a slightly different look to it. So I will catch you guys